keeping up with AI, it feels like you're constantly sprinting, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Just when you think you've got a grip, boom, something new drops. It can get pretty overwhelming.
Totally. Information overload is real.
So yeah, think of this as your express lane. We're trying to cut through the noise and figure out what actually matters right now. I've sort of distilled it for you.
Exactly. And today we're diving into four pretty key things happening. First, Google's got a new way they're trying to help AI startups.
Right.
Then there are these reports about OpenAI's huge data center project, maybe hitting some snags.
Okay.
Also, this interesting analysis suggesting maybe, just maybe, the super fast improvement in AI reasoning could be, leveling off a bit.
That's a big one.
And finally, something a bit different, how the AllTrails app is using AI to, well, change how we hike and explore.
AllTrails, okay. So yeah, a mix of company news, industry analysis, app updates.
That's it. Consider this your curated briefing on what's happening, what it means. Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with Google. This AI Futures Fund. It definitely caught my eye. Seems like maybe more than just, another VC fund announcement. What's really going on there?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is how Google's trying to really pull innovation into their own orbit, specifically around DeepMind.
Right.
This fund isn't just throwing money around. It's about building this close link with startups that are actually using their latest AI tools.
So it gives Google a kind of early look, maybe shapes things a bit.
Potentially, yeah. A big advantage in seeing what's next, maybe even guiding it.
And it's not just cash they're offering, right? It sounded like different kinds of support.
Absolutely. It's layered. So startups get early access to the newest DeepMind models. That's huge, right? A real edge.
Definitely.
Plus, they get to actually work with Google experts from DeepMind and Google Labs. Then there are Google Cloud credits essential for the heavy lifting AI needs.
Covers those compute costs.
Exactly. And for the ones that look really promising, there's the possibility of Google investing directly. So yeah, it's a whole support system.
And this isn't like apply by Friday or you miss out.
No, it's a rolling thing. No fixed deadline. They started taking applications May 12th. It lets them pick up promising startups whenever they pop up.
Have they highlighted anyone yet? Any examples?
They have. They mentioned Viggle, which is apparently a meme-making platform.
Okay.
And another one called Toon Sutra, which is a webtoon app. So kind of shows the range they're looking at, I guess.
Right, not just one specific niche. And this feels like it fits into a bigger picture for Google, doesn't it? I seem to remember other AI support things they've announced recently.
Yeah, you're right. If you connect the dots, this AI Futures Fund slots right in. Like, remember last November, Google.org put $20 million into AI research?
Ah, yes.
And back in September, that big $120 million Global AI Opportunity Fund, that was for education and training.
Right, skills development.
Then there was another $20 million from Google.org for a generative AI accelerator, but for nonprofits this time.
Okay.
And even their regular Google for Startups Founders Funds are now specifically looking for AI startups in the U.S. So yeah, it's a clear pattern, a real push to build up that AI ecosystem.
Interesting. Okay, so Google's planting seeds, trying to cultivate future AI growth. Now let's pivot a bit. OpenAI, their massive Stargate data center project. Sounds like maybe not smooth sailing.
Yeah, this one really makes you think about the sheer cost and complexity of the infrastructure needed for this level of AI, doesn't it?
Totally.
Stargate, aiming to raise up to $500 million just for the hardware and buildings. Well, reports are saying it's facing delays.
For a big name like OpenAI, what's causing the friction?
It seems like a few things are piling up. Economic uncertainty around tariffs is a big one, makes planning costs tricky.
Right, components getting more expensive?
Exactly. Plus, just general market volatility right now, and maybe the fact that some AI services are getting cheaper. It could be making investors a bit hesitant about such a huge long-term bet.
And SoftBank. Weren't they supposed to be a major player in funding this?
That was the expectation, yeah. They'd expressed strong interest. But the latest report suggests there isn't really a solid financing plan in place yet, or detailed talks happening with other potential investors. That kind of uncertainty doesn't help.
Yeah, you need that anchor investor often. And the tariff thing makes sense. I mean, data centers must be full of imported tech.
Oh, absolutely. Server racks, complex cooling systems, and crucially, those advanced AI chips. TD Cowen did an analysis suggesting tariffs could bump up the total build costs by anywhere from 5% to maybe 15%.
Wow, that's a significant chunk on top of an already massive number.
It really is. A major extra cost.
And it's not just the upfront cost, is it? Is there also a worry about, well, building too much, having all this capacity and maybe not needing it all later.
That's definitely part of the conversation. Investors are getting nervous about a potential oversupply, a glut of data center space down the line.
Hmm.
We're even seeing reports that giants like Microsoft and Amazon, who are obviously huge in AI, are adjusting their own data center plans, sometimes slowing down construction.
So that general caution probably splashes onto a project like Stargate, too.
You'd think so, yeah. It adds to the investor wariness when even the biggest players are recalibrating.
So yeah, big ambitions meeting some tough economic realities for OpenAI's infrastructure plans. Okay, let's shift from the hardware to the software, the AI models themselves. There's this analysis suggesting the really fast progress we've seen in reasoning AI might slow down.
Right. This comes from Epoch AI. They're a nonprofit research group. And it's fascinating because they're trying to actually forecast the pace of AI development itself.
Which is notoriously hard to do.
Extremely. But their analysis suggests that these huge jumps in performance we've gotten used to with reasoning models, that might start to decelerate maybe within the next year or so. It kind of pushes back against the idea of endless exponential growth.
And when we say reasoning models, we mean the really advanced ones, like the ones that can tackle complex math or coding problems, like OpenAI's latest.
Exactly. Models like, OpenAI's internal O3, which builds on O1 and others, they've shown really impressive gains on benchmarks like math and programming. A lot of that's been driven by just throwing more and more computing power at them.
But they need a lot of compute power.
They do. And the way these models are usually built is kind of a two-step process.
Okay.
First, you train a big base model on tons of data. Then you use reinforcement learning, basically giving the model feedback as it tries to solve hard problems to fine-tune its reasoning skills.
Right, learning from trial and error, almost.
Sort of, yeah. Now, Epoch's point is that until recently, most of the massive compute scaling has gone into that first stage, the initial training.
Yeah.
They haven't, or hadn't until very recently, applied truly enormous compute power specifically to that reinforcement learning part. Although they do note OpenAI seems to be shifting, putting much more compute into reinforcement learning for O3 compared to O1.
Okay, so OpenAI is focusing more compute there now, but the argument is there's maybe a limit to how much that helps.
That's the core idea from Epoch. They're suggesting there might be an upper bound, a point of diminishing returns from just scaling up compute for reinforcement learning. Josh Yu, he's an analyst there, he broke it down like this. Performance gains from the standard training part are roughly quadrupling year over year, but gains from reinforcement learning have been growing even faster, like tenfold every 3-5 months.
Wow, that's fast.
Super fast. But his projection is that because of potential limits, those two rates of improvement might actually converge, maybe around 2026.
So the supercharged boost from reinforcement learning might eventually hit a ceiling, or at least slow down relative to the gains from basic training.
That seems to be the argument. It suggests you can't just keep throwing more GPUs at the reinforcement learning stage and expect the same massive leaps indefinitely.
And are there other factors besides just compute limits?
Epoch mentions those too, yeah. Things like the sheer overhead costs of doing this kind of cutting-edge research. Josh, you pointed out that these persistent overheads could also limit how far these reasoning models can scale, maybe not as much as some people hope.
This must be, well, maybe a bit worrying for the AI industry, given how much is being invested in these models,
Yeah.
especially since they still have issues like, making things up sometimes.
It definitely raises important questions. If that rapid improvement curve does flatten out for reasoning models, the industry will need to figure out other ways to push forward and, tackle those existing flaws like hallucination.
Okay, interesting perspective. Shifting gears completely now from the high-level AI development to something much more down-to-earth, getting outdoors. The AllTrails app. Seems like they're bringing AI onto the trail.
Yeah, this is a great example of AI moving from the lab into, our hobbies and daily activities. AllTrails, super popular app, right? iPhone app of the year last year.
Yeah, lots of people use it.
They're launching a new premium subscription tier. It's called Peak. And the big selling point is a bunch of new AI-powered features.
Okay, Peak. And AllTrails is already pretty solid for finding trails and tracking hikes. What's the AI adding?
So this Peak membership, it'll be about $80 a year. And the AI stuff sounds pretty neat. First, there are tools to help you build custom routes.
Custom routes, how does that work?
You can either tell the AI what you're looking for, like, I want a 5-mile loop, not too steep, with good views, and it'll try to generate a route from scratch.
Oh.
Or You can take an existing trail and use AI to tweak it, make it shorter, longer, avoid steep bits, maybe add a specific viewpoint.
This sounds really useful, like personalizing a standard hike.
Exactly. That smart routing capability seems like a big step up for planning.
Okay, what else is in peak?
Real-time trail condition forecasts. And this sounds like more than just weather. The AI is supposed to predict temperature, rain, snow depth, air quality, even mosquito activity.
Okay, knowing the mosquito forecast before you go, that alone might be worth it for some hikes.
Right. Game changer in the summer. And they plan to add terrain and ground condition info later, too.
Cool. Anything else?
Yep. Trail traffic heat maps. Using anonymized data from all their users, the app will show you how crowded trails are likely to be at different times, kind of like traffic maps for cars.
Ah, useful if you're looking for solitude or maybe trying to avoid peak times.
Exactly. And one more visual thing, outdoor lens. Use your phone camera, point it at a tree or flower.
And it tells you what it is, like a nature identification tool.
That's the idea. Identify trees, plants, flowers. You can log what you find. And they say more identification features are planned for that later on.
That's quite a package of AI features. Seems like a pretty major update for that.
It really does. You know, they had that big funding round back in 2021, and there's more competition now, even from things like Apple Maps getting better outdoors features.
Right.
So this peak membership with all the AI looks like their move to really keep their core users engaged, offer something unique. They did update the free and lower tier memberships too, adding points of interest and offline maps for the pluses tier.
Trying to cater to everyone still.
Seems like it. And with over 80 million registered users, that's a lot of people who could potentially start using these AI tools out on the trail.
Okay, so let's quickly pull it all together. Our deep dive today covered Google's strategy with the AI Futures Fund to boost startups using their tech.
Right. Then the headwinds OpenAI is reportedly facing with its massive Stargate data center project,
Yeah.
mostly due to economic factors and potential cost increases.
Then that analysis from Epoch AI suggesting we might see maybe a plateau or at least a change in the pace of improvement for reasoning AI models.
Yeah, questioning the limits of scaling compute for reinforcement learning. And finally, AllTrails bringing AI features like custom routing, condition forecasts, and plant ID to outdoor enthusiasts with their new peak membership.
So we've seen investment driving innovation, the real-world challenges of building AI infrastructure, a look at the potential limits of AI progress itself, and a concrete example of AI becoming part of our everyday leisure.
Exactly. It covers quite a bit of ground.
And as we wrap up, it definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Like, with Google's fund, what kinds of completely new AI ideas might bubble up now? Could this really reshape competition?
And for OpenAI, if these infrastructure challenges persist, how does that change the roadmap for building these super powerful models? Do we need different approaches?
And if reasoning AI does hit some limits with current methods, where will the next big AI breakthroughs actually come from? What other avenues are there?
Then with AllTrails, it's just one app. But how might AI like this start to change our relationship with the physical world, with our hobbies, in ways we haven't even thought of yet?
Yeah, lots to chew on. It definitely feels like these are just snapshots of a much bigger story unfolding in AI right now, an ongoing evolution, for sure.